in total QBR, trailing only Trevor Lawrence. So, look, you know, you've got some really talented quarterbacks in this conference right now. Starting today, what do you expect to see in terms of a guy and who could be as most successful other than Trevor, I guess?
I think it's the best quarterback conference, period, pretty easily. Like right now, and I know there's only 3 conferences, but if you put all of them together, I'd still take this league. But give me Ian Book. I think, you know, every year you've seen steady improvement from Ian Book. He's 20-3 as a starter. I mean, he threw for over 30 touchdowns a year ago. Guess what? He rushed for over 500. Ian Book's going to continue to do what he does, and if he takes that next step like he has every single year, I feel like he's been there for 30 years, by the way.
Yeah.
Then I think Notre Dame's going to be in position to start talking about rivaling Clemson and winning the ACC.
I can't wait to watch. You mentioned Sammy Howell, and not just because he's in his second year, but think about what's around him with Michael Carter, Javonte Williams in the backfield. They have a tandem of backs that can really tote. And then you have these receivers that again, have a second year of coming back, too, that already were over 1,000 yards. So I think there's balance within this offense. I think his confidence is soaring. Now they just have to be able to deal with the pressure and the expectations. Last year it was a little easier. No one expected anything. This year, I think they can score 40 a game. They're going to be tough to beat in this conference.
It's starting against Syracuse today. Maybe
exactly.
get that 40 to start.
I agree with David, and it starts today with Duke, when Notre Dame plays Duke. I like Ian Book. I think he's going to have a magnificent season. We saw Corso last week. He picked him to make the college football playoff, so I guess they're going to play Clemson in the ACC championship game. But he has some young talent, a lot of talent in the backfield. It's going to take a lot of pressure off of him, but his leadership has been outstanding. I'm expecting Ian Book to take that next step forward. He might be the second best quarterback in the ACC when it's all said and done.
You know, I tell you what, all those guys, and I agree with all of you. Phil Longo, the offensive coordinator at North Carolina, telling me don't be surprised to see much more running from Howell. I'm eager to see Chase Bryce, Clemson transfer, quarterback at Duke, under David Cutcliffe. Duke couldn't get the ball down
By the way,
field last
we
year,
can keep going. Cunningham, Louisville. I mean, you can Hendon Hooker. Virginia. I mean, that's how deep this conference is.
And you know who else you shouldn't sleep on? The guy that's going to go for Wake Forest tonight, Sam Hartman. He's replacing Jamie Newman, but he has some starting experience as well. But Wake Forest comes into this game against Clemson tonight, and they've got a lot of pieces that they have to replace. The key guys who are huge for them last year. Basically, everybody that provided offensive productivity is gone. Jamie Newman's, transferred to Georgia, then opted out. He also, his favorite target last year, as he was a terrific dual threat guy for Dave Clawson, was Sage Surratt. Surratt had 11 touchdown catches, tied for 4th in the ACC, and he missed 4 games with an injury. Sage Surratt also choosing to opt out and not play, so that's another guy that they have to replace. And even on the ground with Cade Carney, but with Boogie Basham coming back on defense, that's where Dave Clawson is hoping his team can hang in there. Got a chance to chat with the Wake Forest coach yesterday. As you open this season, what are you most confident in terms of your team matching up with Clemson?
Well, I would go so far to say that Clemson might be the gold standard in the whole country right now as a program. Dabo and his staff have done a phenomenal job there. But I think, Reese, that we're a confident football team. We've been to 4 consecutive bowls. We have a lot of players on both sides of the football that have played quite a bit for us. We have not played Clemson well the last 2 years, and I think our players are anxious and up for the challenge of proving that we're a better football team than the team that's played Clemson the last 2 seasons.
You see the virtual fans, Wake hoping to have something to cheer about. Dave mentioned the last 2 games against the Tigers, 115-6. Further perspective, Clemson scored 16 touchdowns in those games. Wake Forest has 16 first downs.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Well, you have to wait. Look, I don't want to undersell what Dave Clawson has done here. They're going for their 4th straight winning season. If they do that, they haven't done that since prior to the existence of the ACC. ACC started in the 50s. Wake did it in the 40s. He's put together. They'd like to make a statement tonight. Can they at least keep it close as a huge underdog?
Yeah, he's in his 7th year, as you said. Last 3 or 4 years, he's hovering right around those 7-8 wins, which is very, very impressive. Boogie Basham can get after the quarterback. So if I'm Clemson, I'm thinking about the ability to have balance. We've talked so much in these first couple weeks about Trevor Lawrence. And don't get me wrong, he's obvious. I mean, he's the guy. but they still have Travis Etienne. Remember him? Number 9 behind him. So this is a balanced attack that Wake will have to deal with, Des.
Yeah.
But I think, Dave Clawson mentioned, I've been a little careful with how I practice, respectful of the virus and the protocols. And now all of a sudden you got number 9 running downhill. That's a big challenge for this defense.
No, you're right about that. I like Wake's quarterback, Sam Hartman. We just talked about him. He's like more of a zigzag guy, likes to improvise, can keep Clemson's defense on his heels. And he's a guy who said during the offseason he's really had a chance to reflect. And he's been thinking about his legacy. He said his legacy here drives him. A kid who's been through a lot of adversity, David. I liked the chip on his shoulder that he plays with. If he can keep that defense off balance, maybe they can keep it close early.
And if we're looking at Clemson, this isn't the same team that we've been looking at the past couple years. 4 or 5 offensive linemen up front are being replaced, and that's where Kirk mentioned the name for me, Boogie Basham. He's 6'5", 270. By the way, squats 700 pounds, benches 400 pounds. One of the most athletic kids in all of college football. Will terrorize offensive linemen. So how are they going to handle big athletic guys up front? I think we're going to learn right off the bat about Clemson, about down the road when they do face more teams like that, and especially up front with their offensive line.
Bear, I know Wake's not on the board over there, but how do you think people are going to look at teams like this? We haven't seen them. We don't know how they practiced. And now you got a big spread. I mean, how do you deal with a game like that?
I think you look at Clemson and how throughout the offseason, they were always pretty confident in expecting to play. So I think they've been preparing all along. We've seen some quotes from Dave Clawson even in August about how the goal is to keep people safe, and we really haven't had a foolproof split people up. So I think Clemson will probably be a little bit more football ready today. That's not to say Wake Forest won't be football ready. I don't think we're going to expect to see what we saw from Navy last week, but I would expect Clemson to come out and put a good number up.
Bear, I think they got something new for you this year. Jimmy G and the boys.
They
got something for you this year.
You got some animation there?
Animation.
Really? Yeah, look at that.
That's pretty sweet, Bear.
Man. Got the bank. You had a winning record last year. You've got the board protected. We've had. It's a misty, rainy morning. There's been cascades of waterfalls behind Herbstreit.
Yeah,
I keep hoping it's going to get that Lindsey Nelson jacket pretty soon. You've protected the board. Give me a pick there. Wipe that up, Herbstreit.
I am. I'm cleaning.
I'll just go up down the road there, across the state rather, in Chapel Hill. I don't know if people really grasp how bad Syracuse was last year. I mean, they gave up 34 points a game. They were outgained by 125 yards a game in ECC play. They've got opt-outs. They've got injuries. And now they're going to Chapel Hill with basically that entire offense coming back. I don't know how many stops that Syracuse.
You don't like that?
I don't. That doesn't set up.
It doesn't align with your.
Set up well for them. I wouldn't have thought that. Week 1, I'll be jumping to late 23 here with Carolina. I don't know how many stop Syracuse gets. I think Carolina whacked Syracuse today.
You know what? Wow. When you have in your starting offensive line depth chart, Syracuse does, a former fullback who's new to the offensive line, and they had a transfer from Florida that they hoped the NCAA would rule eligible. Didn't happen. So I agree.
Just play him.
Lay him and laugh. Yeah, well, that's a little bear. Lay him and laugh. Yeah. You like that little bear?
I like the little bear. That's pretty hilarious.
College Football Playoff National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. Hoping to work our way toward that, stay on schedule for the national championship game. Old Demon Deacon looking over that trophy and hoping to knock Clemson off stride early. Still to come on College Game Day, Jen Latta, the story of how players and coaches are having to adjust in the COVID-19
I've got a high confidence level in the ability of teams to manage it. I think college football can certainly do its part. This is going to literally take everyone for it to be successful.
Also ahead on Game Day, Nick Saban's going to join us right before the Crimson Tide goes out to scrimmage today. Dabo Swinney is going to join us between meetings at the team hotel. A little immediacy right here as Saban and Dabo, national championship coaches, both join us. Also got Ryan Day and James Franklin. And look at LC's making us wear a mask.
That's amazing.
What's LC munching on right there? That's even better than the snacks.
He is a beauty.
I told you Sam Howell might run against Syracuse today. You think he'll hop over an orange defender the way Lamar did? I don't know about that.
I wouldn't recommend it.
About that. Let's take a look at today's College Game Day signs brought to you by the Home Depot. There. That's some bachelor signs. Oh, don't poke.
Be careful.
Right.
Be careful.
Right.
All right.
That might be legit.
Bears on board.
Legit.
All right.
Making a trip
What's
to New
this?
York.
I would have had a fancier sign, but I bet on Corso's pick.
Oh, taking a shot at LC.
Not even here to defend himself right now.
Exactly, right?
His face told the whole story there, too. He was not happy about it.
No, sir.
Let's take a look at Pizza Hut Game Day traditions, and it just comes from last year. Coastal Carolina and Kansas. Hat in its first season there. Thought he had the old shots where he wanted them when they scored early, but he didn't.
Coach to win the games here. Man, backfired on him a little bit.
Coastal Carolina, they got stopped on downs 3 times late in that game, and Coastal Carolina took them down. We bring it up, not just because it happened last year, but those two teams play again today, and that line has been moving around all over the place. What's going on with that, Bear?
I mean, that was interesting because it opened up at like 3.5, and then it jumped to 7 right away. And I think there's some reports out there that Coastal Carolina may have some players available, or do either practice or I don't know. But it certainly was surprising to me that Kansas moved 3.5 points towards 7 early in the week. That's a big move.
Bears watching, right?
Des has absolutely no idea what the hell you're talking about right now.
Already into the slate. I'm already into the slate.
Des is like,
It's like,
let me tell you, these Big 12 games, man, these Big 12 games may look like warm-ups.
Yeah.
Your first one, the Big 12 slate. Iowa State better be careful.
You're exactly right. That man right there, Louisiana Lafayette. See that man right there? Levi Lewis, southpaw dynamic quarterback. They can score a bunch of points. This game may turn into a shootout. The Cyclones better have their A game, because I tell you what, the Raging Cajuns, they're coming to upset Iowa State.
I don't know if that theme will continue, boys, down in Austin as UTEP travels in to take on the Horns. Tommy Herman ready to go, 4th year in Austin. Sam Ellinger, 12th year as a quarterback at Texas. This team has athletes, and they've got experienced quarterback, which allows them, I think, to be very dangerous. Remember, Chris Ash was a head coach at Rutgers, now the DC. Yep. This Texas defense will be nasty, play with much more of an edge, be more sound than they were a year ago with all those injuries.
Arkansas State versus Kansas State. We've already seen Arkansas State play this season. 2 quarterback system, Logan Bonner, Lane Hatcher, both those guys will play. Kansas State, Coach Kleiman, you saw some momentum build last year. He got this team believing. Skylar Thompson played much better a year ago. What's this next step for Kansas State? Let's see how good they are.
Oklahoma takes on Missouri State. Now, this is going to be a blowout. You know what all that Oklahoma has to replace. Hurts and CeeDee Lamb and defensive guys. Kenneth Murray just tackled everybody. Trey Sermon transferred to Ohio State. Kennedy Brooks opted out, but they should be strong up front. But Bob Petrino is back for Murray State. They're just playing 3 games this fall and then going to a Valley schedule in the fall. New Oklahoma quarterback Spencer Rattler in his debut.
You know, I look at it like I had a lot of hype, you could say, in high school and attention. So, I mean, that definitely prepared me for this. But like I said, you know, to me, pressure is a privilege. I don't look at it. I look at it to embrace it. You know, I'm not going to run away from any expectations or this and that. I just focus on what I have to do with my team. I got a great group of guys around me and, you know, a great supporting cast of coaches. So, you know, what we're focusing on right now is that game 1, and we'll go on from there.
Rattler is going to be the first quarterback to start for Oklahoma who originally signed with the Sooners since 2014. The percentages that the Sooners lost from last year, 80% of their rushing, over half their receiving yards, and 87% of the total offense. Look, they're going to win, and they're going to win big against a Missouri State team. Yeah. New coach, only won 1 game last year. What do you want to see from Oklahoma, particularly Rattler today, that would give you confidence they can keep up the production?
Guys, I want to see how he manages the game. I want to see his poise out there. I don't think they're really going to be challenged today, but I want to see how he commands the offense, runs the offense, how his poise is during the game. He doesn't have a lot of experienced talent out there. RD just told you they lost a lot of talent on offense and on defense. This is like a warm-up game, a scrimmage game, no disrespect, but it is what it is. I want to see just how he carries himself out there, and if he deals with any adversity, how he overcomes it.
There's 2 things I'm curious about. One, how is Lincoln Riley recruited? I think that's going to be very important because he's done great, and we've seen him coach, and he knows how to coach ball. Nobody's doubting that. Offensively, now it's going to be a lot of guys in his tenure that he's recruited that have to step up that we don't know about yet. And two, let's talk about defense. Last year, yards per game, all the numbers that you really like when it comes to defense, all almost cut in half. Like a lot of production. They need to create more create more turnovers to get the ball back to their offense. But does their defense take another step in developing and be a team that doesn't give up 60 to LSU or in big games give up that big number?
Yeah, and that second year in that system, you know, OU's offense, always we talk about Lincoln Riley, we always talk about the quarterbacks. But if you really watch OU, it's about the offensive line and it's about the running backs. Keep in mind, they lost Kennedy Brooks, who opted out. Trey Sermon, who ended up transferring to Ohio State. Stevenson suspended. So you're going to get a chance today, if you get a chance to watch this game. And I love these early games when you get new names. Seth McGowan. My man wants to know how they recruit. Take a look at Seth McGowan to see how they recruit as a true freshman. True freshman wide receiver, Marvin Mims. These are going to be two names that in 2 or 3 weeks of the season become household names, but it starts today against Missouri State. So a lot of Spencer Rattler, but to me, Seth McGowan running the football and that offensive line establishing things takes the heat off of him and lets OU do what they do.
Also looking forward to seeing Texas with not only new defensive coordinator, but Mike Yurcich is in on offense. Sam Ehlinger has some graduate transfer wide receivers that could help. You think Texas, Oklahoma all the time, but many people believe there's a team sneaking around the chicken coop, but you know what, that sort of begs the question, can you really sneak around a chicken coop if there's always a certain someone who's there watching and waiting on you to finally please show up?
I think what happened to Iowa State in the opener might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I think they end that streak and get the home win today. I don't think we see Texas, Oklahoma 2 in the Big 12 title game. Baylor or Iowa State. I like Iowa State's game. I think Iowa State goes on the road today. They pick up win number 8.
Super long shot. I'm going to go to the Big 12 and Iowa State.
I want to know if Bear and Matty Campbell are they best friends? Are y'all texting like every day?
I wish. I mean, throw my number up there if Coach wants to get back to me. You better be careful today.
Go ahead, put it out there, Bear. Put it out there. Put your number out there.
Bear, you know, Iowa State, they haven't, under Matt Campbell, they have not left September with a winning record, not one time.
Can't
They
beat
got to do
Iowa.
Louisiana. Yeah, they can't. I mean, Brock Purdy's terrific, but you better watch out for a guy that the Raging Cajuns call Big Sauce. Halen Humphrey, he's a defensive end that they think is going to play in the NFL, and Iowa State's got problems on the offensive line. This is I smell this one now.
I like this
my thing, and Bear, every year he says Iowa State, right?
Right.
No, every year.
Well, it
To,
seems like
to
it.
get to the Big 12 title game?
Dude, we just did a vignette on you being picking Iowa State. Just roll it. No one's listening. Roll
Hey,
it.
wait,
Roll it.
right.
No one
Hey, Bear,
cares. No one cares.
coming next week, Herbstreit's annual Texas to the playoffs.
And Bozo over there with Texas A&M. Gig 'em. Gig 'em. Gig 'em. All right, so anyway, let's get back to Iowa State. So Iowa State, in the last 4 years, Iowa State has lost 14 games by a touchdown or less. And in those games, turnover margin has destroyed them. So for Bear to have this become a reality, I know about Brock Purdy, but it's collectively, they got to learn how to win close games. Yeah. They're always right there, and they never can quite close the door. So they got the ability, they got the experience, but I want to see if they can win those close games this year.
I think Brock Purdy's the best quarterback in the Big 12.
Whoa!
Ooh-wee.
I mean,
I like him a lot. He's smart.
Fourth in the
he's
nation
savvy.
passing line.
Yeah, no, he's smart, savvy, has a gunslinger mentality. I like him a lot. He's the best quarterback they've had there since Seneca Wallace.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
He's got
that?
21 school records in 2 seasons as a starter.
Yeah.
Like 2 seasons. He's obliterated the record books. I mean, he's definitely, he's legit.
Here's the thing. Last year at this time, who was thinking Baylor was going to be an overtime period away from reaching the college football playoff?
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Like, who's just in the Big 12?
Right.
You just got to finish second.
Right.
If you finish second, you get to the Big 12 title game, you got a chance. And who's to say that they can't?
You got to make sure they don't finish second today.
RD's got the Cajuns? Is he going Billy Napier?
I'm just telling you, man.
Just saying.
I'm just saying.
He's on record. He's got the Cajuns today.
Clemson and Wake Forest tonight, 7:30 East.